How are you doing?
I think we'll go ahead and get started. There'll probably be some stragglers since lunch was kind of pretty tight turnaround. And my friend Ken will be here. He's going to share the second half, and then we're going to have you all do some diet together. So, welcome. My name is Mark Funkhauser, and I'm based currently in Reno, Nevada, but I'm from Indiana, and actually was born in Illinois, but I was only there for a couple days. They didn't kick me out or anything. I just moved. My family moved to Indiana, and I was there for 58 years, 30-mile radius. And then I fled to Reno in 2018. No, I didn't flee. So I've been involved in Illuman since before I came to Reno, went to Reno. And my friend Ken and I got connected back in the church back in Reno. And he had done some work around with Roar and Illuman and the MRLP, and that's how I got involved. And the reason I picked this topic was, it's kind of a 12-step, but it's probably, there's a lot of things, in the 12-step realm that came, matter of fact, all of it came from somewhere else, or came from within, and across tradition. Come on in, Ken. I just went ahead and kicked this off, and then I'll pass the torch to you. You're good to see you, buddy. I was just telling them I picked Progress Not Perfection, and then invited Ken into that, so he didn't seem to have a problem with it. The reason I did is that I remember when I first got connected with Roar, and he talked about falling upward or everything belongs, and I think it was the first 12-step program kind of got me on my way, and then I got into the faith-based journey. Then I also studied some Eastern stuff and kind of integrate that and do some yoga and stuff. So I've been, my journey has evolved over time, and the reason that I ended up in Illuman is that, Ken shared his journey with me, and then I started reading Roar, and Roar really spoke to me with regard to not really needing to be perfect or living up to that. He would say maybe, we're not worthy, or maybe we're all worthy. It's not, we don't have to live up to those unrealistic expectations, to whether it's trying to work your way into status or even heaven, and things like that. I remember him talking about that. And I was raised, to be, my father was an adult child of alcoholic, and so he was always pretty hyper responsible because he grew up in that realm with his father being alcoholic, and so he always tried to inspire me or instill fear in me or obedience. It was always that external behavior modification, that I wasn't raised in the church, but I still felt like there was this old world behavior modification, that was sort of more fear-based, intimidation and things like that. Although, I look back on that, there probably was maybe more loving, presence from him than maybe what I remember, but I just remember some of that harsh stuff. Oh, okay. And do I need to do anything? Okay.
I hear you.
And so it seemed like it was never enough. It just was never enough. And about the first time we would reach a goal or something in sports or grades, it's like, okay, now what's next? We didn't really even acknowledge or kind of sit with or be present with arriving at that particular place. And so it was always more. And he worked really hard. My dad worked really hard, and I got so much good from him, so many values, and actually the work ethic and things like that. although the closer I get to retirement, my work ethic is fading. I don't have the energy that I used to. So I think I expended a lot of energy when I was younger. And, you know, if it's a marathon, then I was sprinting for a long time. And so you get burned out with that. But so I think that overcompensation, that old unrealistic expectation to live up to that, it was never good enough, or I just couldn't. I don't know that I was even trying to win his approval, but I guess I was. It didn't seem like that's what was at the forefront, but it was never good enough. That was, and my brother, he does a lot of work around Eastern practices, and he calls them deficiencies. Some programs call them character defects, or we call them core wounds. You know, you name it what you want, it doesn't matter. It's whatever we, you know, even the father wound, the mother wound, whatever we inherit. You know, this is a lot about roots and ancestral stuff. And most of my trauma, you know, I came from a fairly privileged background, so I don't recall any horrible, you know, abuse and things like that, although it was harsh. And of course, back then it was like for your own good, right? And but I do remember not being able to live up to those expectations, and it was really a lot of disillusionment, because like, if I can't do this, then fuck it, right? If I can't live up to that, then hell with that, you know. So I would overcompensate and go the other way. And so I think I got into recovery in '87 and got into this journey of faith-based 12-step yoga, Eastern practices, and then Illuman. And I've spent 3 decades or more, probably the last 35 years, trying to undo that perfectionism. And so I did learn in the 12-step program that progress, you know, is a better benchmark than perfection. Matter of fact, perfection is unattainable. It's absolutely unattainable. There is no way for us to be perfect. And I don't even know that I consciously thought that I need to be perfect. I think it was more driven from those core wounds, and that internal, I took on that external pressure to try to become more, you know. And in this country, we tend to, you know, do more, have more, be more. It's kind of almost in the culture, and to a large degree. And so I got that inside and out, and I internalized that for a long time. And so it ended up manifesting, I think, in lots of ways in substance use, alcohol, other substances. But then once I got into the recovery realm and got clean and sober, because I often wonder, like, what's it mean to be in recovery really anyway? Because you could be, and Rohr says, you know, we're all addicted to our thinking. So maybe we're all recovering from ourselves, you know. And at my age, at 64, I'm not blaming my father for anything anymore. If I am, I need to find some deeper work. I just don't blame my father or my parents or even the culture. I do shift blame some, though. I'm not perfect. So I do shift blame some, but I look at, like, you know, it's out there. If that was different, then I would be different. If you were different, then I would be okay. Or if you weren't such a obnoxious, then I might not act like I do. So that's the shadow work, but that shadow work kind of sucks, because it always comes back to us. It's the mirror effect. It's like looking in the mirror. It's like, now it doesn't mean that people don't harm us, you know, at times, or that doesn't mean that people don't, you know, traumatize people and victimize people. It doesn't mean that, because that's not absolving them of, you know, of their responsibility. But I had to take my part. I had to own 100% of my part. And I don't always want to do that. I'll find a way around that through denial or through detours. You know, and in the past, it always ended up in dilemmas, and it manifested in overwork. After I got into recovery, or sexual stuff, or could manifest in finances. Got back in school, it was obsession with that, you know. And so it's this constant drive, you know, to And it's not a drive for like wholeness, like what we talked about, trying to find wholeness and peace, even though, we can strive for excellence, right? That's a better than perfection. So I think that the one thing that I have learned, probably the hard way, and still learning, is that level of acceptance that I am who I am, and I don't need to live up to anybody else's expectations. Although there are lots of men in this room that I would like to emulate more, but I don't have to become, I can become myself in the process of that. I can look at models outside me, so I don't take on that negative stuff or that toxic stuff as much anymore. I want to be whole, and I want to be at peace, and I want to be able to accept myself. In the recovery realm, we say humility is a funny thing. Once you think you've got it, then you've lost it, right? And acceptance is like that. It's like I need to accept who I am. I'm not who I was, and I'm not who I'm going to be, so I am what I am, like go Popeye, they say. But at the same time, I'm not who I want to be, so I want to aspire to be better and grow in that spiritual, emotional intelligence, emotional realm, that stability, that comfort, in my own skin, but not complacency, where I get lazy and regress. And so I'm going to leave you with it. The main thing that I heard a while back is that progress is like, could be 3 or 4 steps forward and maybe 1 or 2 back. That it doesn't mean we don't go backwards. Now, sometimes I regress and I get lazy and I do regress, but I know that there's limits on that. I can't afford that too much. And I heard somebody say a while back that I'm an imperfectionist today. And I like that, because I went from trying to perfect, trying to be a perfectionist to perfecting mediocrity for a long time. And that was very dangerous, by the way. I would not advise it. But at the same time, I can come back to the middle and find that middle ground where I can seek wholeness and spiritual stability and growth, even if I have setbacks, and that's okay. I remember a plaque one time says, "I'm not okay and you're not okay, but that's okay." And I think, and that really kind of sums up, a lot of what Roar has to teach us. So I'm going to turn this over to my good friend Ken, and he's going to share a little bit about his take on this, and then we're going to put you guys into some diets.
I'm going to ask Mark to kind of keep time on me, because I tend to talk endlessly. So maybe a couple minutes before you get my shield or my thing. So, yeah, like Mark said, I'm going to share for a little bit, and then we're going to break into dyads. Have you guys do the work, because what I found in Awaken, or the conferences and stuff, that has always been much more beneficial for my work is that I'm challenged to practice and to do that one-on-one. And as you've all kind of heard, probably practiced already here, when we are willing to be vulnerable and deep is when the work really starts to happen. And so we're going to hopefully give you an opportunity to do that. As a bit of an introduction, I have to thank Mark for being patient with me, because he invited me to go convene this breakout, and I think I look back, I pretty much dominated it and stuff as far as structure. But we'll see. I feel gifted, and I have to say that I'm feeling challenged by my ego, because I wanted to do something or to be recognized. I had that need to be accepted. I am a 3 on the Enneagram, and the way that I define a 3 is, and I'm also identifying as a recovering sex addict. And in my recovery program, one person began their shares by saying, I compulsively try to control what other people think of me. And that's how I define my threeness. And I've done that all my life. And I've done it so well that I can tell people that I'm doing it to them and I'm controlling what they think of me. They think so much of me, you know, and they don't even realize that I'm doing it to them and stuff. So my ego is kind of elated and stuff, you know, that there are so many guys here, but my fear is that I allow my ego to control me. So my background, I am officially trained as, and still am officially ordained Catholic priest. I was in active ministry for 14 years, a little over 14 years. And this is the 14th year of not being in active ministry. So it's a little bit of a awakening year for me. But I currently am an over-the-road truck driver. I've done factory work. I've grown up and done some construction. I owned a farm, a dairy farm with my brother at one time. So I'm kind of a jack of many trades and a master of none. But I really, I guess, I truly believe I am called into ministry, and I still search for that purpose and direction. But I know that my desire to please and to receive acceptance had some influence on my choosing to enter seminary, to be ordained, and how I would be perceived and accepted for that. And so that's kind of a background. Shortly after Mark had asked me to do this, I'm going to share an experience. So what I feel was gifted to me to share. So shortly after, I had this really vivid dream one evening, and it was an experience of meeting a woman that I was so overwhelmed and attracted to and by, and we hit it off immediately, so much to the point that in a matter of no time, within days, we were so deeply connected that I felt myself falling for her, to the point where I've never felt that. I've been in love with a woman in my earlier years. I am not, obviously married now and stuff, but I've always longed for that acceptance again of a woman, who was attracted to me and accepted me and stuff. But in this dream, and many of you maybe have had these experiences in dreams, you can almost live a lifetime within a very short period of that dream. And so I found myself in that dream falling to such a point where I even saw the end of our lives together, and I felt the deep pain and grief and loss of this woman who I was so deeply attached to. And I remember waking up in that moment, in that experience of just being so overwhelmingly loved that there was no way to describe it. And this is one of the ways that I trust that I am making some progress in my life. Maybe I know not seeking at perfection, or even I'm not seeking it anymore even, but But I know that whenever I woke up, I knew that that dream was not a premonition that I was going to meet some beautiful woman and going to have this. It was something, a gift for me. I didn't understand it, but there it was. It was amazing and powerful. I was going into work that day, and my boss messages me and says, "Can you come to the office?" I'm a truck driver and stuff, so we go out. I've got a partner, and we go out on these runs. And so, yeah, I messaged back, "Sure, I can. There's something I need to check with you on." Well, for many of you, you know, you don't ever get called in the office and stuff for generally the positive things and stuff. But immediately my mind starts telling stories, and I'm worried about something that I've done, you know, and there's a half a dozen scenarios. Okay, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And I realize immediately that there's a half a dozen experiences in my life where I've come up against authority figures in other bosses or a situation, and there's this tension, and so I feel all of those emotions building in me and stuff till I drive and get to work. I go up to the office, and he's already got this computer up, and all these trucks have cameras and stuff in them, and he has me look at it, and he said, "I'm in the passenger seat, the partner's driving, so I know exactly where it's at. I had just gotten out of the bunk, and I'm brushing my teeth and getting ready. We're going to swap at this location." And he says, "You miss anything?" And I do. I didn't have my seatbelt on. The quarter of a mile on a 25-mile-an-hour street at 10 o'clock at night. He ends up, I have to sign a paper that they recognize that and they charge me with unsafe driving practice. They take away 100,000 miles, a whole year's worth of safe driving miles from me for this incident. You can tell that I'm not pissed. And I'm just kind of livid. I sign off on it, and I go out to my truck. We take off on our run, and I'm in the bunk for the first part of our run. And it's kind of hard to practice, your men's work and stuff when you're kind of all in the move. But I was so worked up, and there's so much energy within me. I knew that I needed to do a sit and just try to settle myself. I wasn't going to get to sleep or anything. So I sat in the bunk, bumping around and stuff, and I set up, and I had no intention or real thought that I'm going to have a good sit here. But I do it because, it's a practice, and I trust it. And so I'm sitting in the bunk, and I'm trying to empty myself, and these thoughts keep coming back, and the memories of these incidences when I was face to face with authority figures in my life, and it was gifted to me a realization that this was not about any of those bosses, but it's about my father. It's always been about my father and the acceptance that I needed for that of my father. And almost all my life, whenever I've been confronted with those kind of emotions and energies, it's why I mentioned that I'm a recovering sex addict, because sex is what I define myself as. That is because it's my quickest escape route. Whenever I want to disconnect or run away from something that's uncomfortable for me, that's where I go. And so, so all of these energies and these feelings are going on inside of me. And all of a sudden, this overwhelming sense of love comes back. And I'm reminded of that dream I had that I woke up to that morning. That overwhelming sense of love. I was accepted, completely known, and loved. And that experience allowed me to hold the energy of all of those feelings of disappointment, not enoughness, that desire to be accepted. And I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to hold it, but there was something, again, the work that I've done, try the things that I've been trying to practice. I knew that the healing is only going to come through the fire of that pain. And so I sat and I opened myself and I felt it, and it was uncomfortable as hell, but I held on to that realization, that gift in that dream, that I was loved. I know that was God, God's love for me that came to me in that dream. And so in that probably less than a minute that I was really present and connected in my sit, but that's the power of the Spirit and God's love in our lives. That experience brought so much healing to me and understanding from that experience that I know that I have changed. It was an experience of transformation. And so, what I was given from that was this ritual. And we're going to ask you to break up in dyads, and maybe trust that the Spirit sat you next to the person that you are going to dyad and partner with. I don't know if we've got an even number, but
I wonder if, I was kind of wondering if we need to do this in here, or if let them, like go out 2 by 2 and pick us.
we can.
I'm afraid it's gonna be a little bit loud in here and too tight. What do you think?
Yes.
So he's gonna explain what you're gonna do, and you'll go out, just go out 2 by 2. And if there's one guy left, then we'll take him. God help him. And then go right out there and find some open space out there. And we're gonna give you 10 minutes each. So you'll do your part and then switch. So somebody will have to take, and then after that, we'll go right into the soul play wherever you need to go. So you don't necessarily have to come back in here, but Ken's gonna. Yeah.
Okay, so in order to help explain this and describe it, I'm going to have you turn your chairs. You're going to be partnered up, starting here. Turn your chairs facing each other, and I'll walk you through this. Yeah, well, we're going to have everybody just face each other right now. Well, nothing. We can. If we're, we'll explain this. If you feel more comfortable taking chairs or going out, you can do that after we explain it. After I explain it. I need everybody to face each other. Pair off.
Well, I should be. It's
in the East Coast.
Okay. So now we are going to give you, you're going to have one is going to be the listener, one is going to be the speaker. The speaker is going to take 5 minutes, more or less. You got 5 minutes to tell your listener partner a story of a challenge in your life. Story of an experience. Now, you don't have much time, so be lean of speech, but tell them the gist of it, whatever it might be. But a challenge, a difficulty, a pain, a loss, a grief, or something. The listener is listening intently, but you're listening particularly for the feelings that that man is sharing. Okay? Then we're going to call time, and we're going to ask the speaker to tell a story of a blessing that has been in your life. And the listener is listening for the feelings of that. Okay, at the end of that 5 minutes, we're going to ask you to do a ritual practice. Okay, so the listener,
Let's show them.
so the listener is, or the speaker is going to take its non-dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, you would take your left hand and hold it out. So that's the speaker. The listener is going to take their hand and hold it under. And he's going to say, brother, what I heard you say is that in your challenge you felt and named those feelings that you heard this brother speaking. And he's going to hold out the speaker's going to hold out his dominant hand, the other, and he says, in your blessing, I heard you speak of these feelings. Then the listener will place his hand with his hand over his heart, and the non-dominant first, and then the dominant hand over their hearts, and you're looking into the speaker's eyes, and you're telling them these feelings, and you say to them, brother, I hear you, and you can hold all of this together because it is a part of you. Now, you don't have to use those exact words. Again, I think you get the gist of what we're saying. But the idea is that all of these things are a part of us, and that we can hold them together. And it is that helps us to be able to make some progress in our lives. That's what helps us to create that transformation in our lives. Okay?
Any questions?
Questions about that? And then
Doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay, just to finish that explanation. Okay, the speaker is going to finish with that ritual, and then you're going to swap. And so the listener is going to become the speaker, and the speaker will be the
And that's all
listener.
done in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's going to be a short amount of time, so you got to be,
So 5 on the challenge, 5 on the blessing, and we'll tell you when to switch.
We'll be out there, so how?
If you want to, you just keep your own time.
If you're out there, we will step out and we will
Or
give you.
yeah, or you know.
Just a reminder, if you're not complete, you keep speaking. So, and when we are finished, we may come back in for a little shift. If we can have your attention, I think there may be a few more guys coming back in, but we're not going to do anything major, but we wanted to give you an opportunity possibly to share anything if you had some particular insight, or just to kind of gather this back together again into what we're doing here this weekend and what it means and how it can be beneficial for us in our work and in our lives.
Yeah, and obviously you're not going to share details about what Amanda shared with you, but if there's something about the process or some revelation of your own that you might want to share. Anybody?
Yeah. Yes, I'm ready. And it struck me in both my challenge and blessing, as well as Graham's challenge and blessing, something I hadn't seen before was a red line connecting those two. Before I started talking, they seemed like two separate stories. But as soon as, frankly, as soon as he put his hands over my chest, I suddenly saw, oh, shit, this is the same story. And so that was a real eye-opener, and I've got something to explore there. So.
I like that. Thank you. Anybody else?
Ditto.
Ditto. Yeah, I heard some agreement over here before you even finished that. Anybody else?
I found it really hard to name my blessings.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm deeply blessed. My wife is wonderful.
Yeah.
I walk around in states of joy. Right? But actually naming my blessings felt difficult because I think all of my blessings have that it's hard to say, oh, this is a pure blessing. But I don't need a pure blessing. It doesn't, like, any one thing doesn't need to be a pure blessing in isolation with no rough edges. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful to me to name things as blessings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to say that when I thought about what I was going to say as my blessings, what came into my mind is this is the biggest blessing of my life. It has been for some time. Illuman, not just specific things, but the brotherhood that I've felt with other men
Yeah.
in Illuman is something that frankly I didn't think I would find at this point in my life. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
Well heard.
This is my name is Pete, and this is my first Illumin experience. And this was the second time today, first was at council, where I thought about something with neutral emotion, and then when I went to share it, I was overcome with emotion.
Well,
When I went to speak it out.
well, thank you so much.
Good work.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
This is also my first Awaken, and the randomness of who you're paired up with and the intimacy that you're able to share and feel for each other is just remarkable, and we need to have more of this out in the real world.
I think one of the things that struck me, and you'd agree, and our blessings we found were, and again, the randomness of just being paired, but I think the blessings of our wives in our lives and how supportive and loving they have been for all of our imperfections.
Yeah.
And I think even also the on the downsides or challenges all really came down to that of integrity and being our true self, and being true to ourselves.
Right.
What was important to us if we understood and knew ourselves. Big plus.
Very well put. Thank you. Yes.
I was surprised at what I picked for the challenge and the blessing, but they were the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it gave me a different appreciation for the challenge, because it's been the thing that has most transformed me. So having those two be together. It's like, wow, so that as opposed to separate bad, and then deal with it to like this, it's been the deepest blessing of transformation.
Sounds like a common theme there. Yeah. Excellent. Anybody else? Yep.
Yeah, Justin, my name's Justin. I found that my body knew the story of the challenge very well. As I was telling it, I knew that story well. And as I started sharing the blessing, I found as I was pulling on the thread of that blessing, it unfurled and was a larger blessing than I realized or had given notice to, and was being surprised by that as I was sharing. And then as I received the feelings of the listener was telling me, my feelings, some of them were like, oh, yeah, and I was able to experience that blessing in a more rich way than I would have otherwise.
Yeah. Being heard and seen. It's so important. Yeah.
I just need to say, it's such a privilege to be able to have somebody tell you their story. That was a blessing in and of itself. More so than
Thank you. Excellent. Better to give than receive.
Well, we want you guys to be able to get out and play.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for trusting yourself and the Spirit. I had a lot of fears around how this was going to work, but I trusted that it was a gift that we should share, and you've done just tremendous. The whole purpose.
Thank you for constructing this ritual.
Yeah.
It was a ritual.
Yeah. Thank the Spirit for offering. But we end with the fact that the title of the breakout, it's progress, not perfection. Hopefully this could be something that can be helpful in your progress along the way. And, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And it was perfect, by the way.
Thank you.